crowdfunding hai kya? What is crowdfunding? And before I, come into this particular phase of the workshop, I want to know that I understand some of you have ideas you're working on. Some of you may have, a hardware or software product. Just like you would go out to raise venture capital or angel investment, it's very likely that you may have to pivot or make slight iterations with your idea to cater to the the attractiveness of a venture capital firm or any personal private investor. So there is a possibility that if you're looking to go for crowdfunding for your current idea or your previous idea or potentially in the future, you may have to pivot towards what the requirements of a successful crowdfunding campaign are. So it's not that crowdfunding जो आपका अभी आइडिया है उसके लिए बिल्कुल टेलर मेड होगी. आपको शायद थोड़ा बहुत पिवट और आइटरेट करना पड़े as you learn more about it and as we progress deeper into it. In simpler terms, crowdfunding is the pooling of money from a group of people who share interest in supporting an idea, cause, or a product. Anyone with a creative idea, non-profit, or a business entity can seek crowdfunding through designated platforms and access investment without the need of a bank, a venture capital firm, or any angel investors. Although accessing sponsorships or loans through banks or VCs or angels gets tedious, crowdfunding is relatively quicker and is accessible to absolutely anyone and increases the likelihood of getting funded. So अगर आप इस particular presentation का part देखें तो एक idea है, you have the startup, you are either innovating in terms of a hardware product या तो आपका platform है, and then you put it up on a crowdfunding platform. There are going to be a group of people who will fund your idea, and you if are primarily pre-selling your idea. तो अगर आप एक hardware startup हैं, आपने पूरी अपनी campaign जब आप बनाएंगे तो you're primarily telling your potential investor / backer that you have done most of the work and you're just pre-selling your product to get a pool of money to go into manufacturing with it. And then throughout this journey, you're collaborating with a number of other companies, and आप उसके साथ साथ आपकी support भी will be necessary, and we will go through all of this journey with not only with this particular workshop, with this class, but even in the following sessions. Why crowdfunding? क्या है फायदा crowdfunding का? There are a number of benefits that you can identify. You're getting access to capital. Venture capital is quite tough to get, even though our local ecosystem is flourishing. Since the time Preserve raised funding in 2016 and 17, in just 3 years we have so much progress that has taken place within the industry. But उसके बावजूद venture capital को access करना is not easy. Hedges risk. तो इसका मतलब ये है that you haven't actually produced your product. आप फिर भी 95% या 90% आपका product बना हुआ है, and that is when you go for crowdfunding. God forbid you don't get a positive response or you're forced to pivot. तो वो आपकी risk को mitigate करता है. उसका मतलब ये है कि before making the final product, you're still getting some kind of an idea of what the customer may or may not want. Marketing tool, just by placing yourself on the platform itself serves as a great marketing tool, because the websites we will discuss in depth later on have a lot of organic following to begin with. आप अपनी pre-sell कर रहे हो, so you're getting the opportunity to pre-sell and expand your customer base to over 120 countries. Proof of concept also, कि आप का एक तो proof of concept बन रहा है. If before the final production you have to you get some feedback through your campaign कि आप ये addition कर दें या ये subtraction कर दें product में, so you're kind of verifying your particular hypothesis of your idea as well. Like we discussed, it's easier than traditional fundraising. You get free PR. So how is that coming in? Free PR ऐसे हो रही है that if you are listed on any one of the platforms we'll discuss, like I just mentioned, there are a lot of individuals, a lot of startups that are organically going on those websites. So वो आपको मुफ्त की एक PR भी उसमें मिल जाती है. Rest assured, you will get a lot of feedback, and most of it will be something that you should be incorporating. So that'll be very extremely valuable. आप अपने prospective loyal customers एक बहुत बड़ी country, like worldwide individuals को access कर सकते हो. And so with the kind of crowdfunding we're getting into, and we'll get into that later, is reward based crowdfunding. So you're primarily attracting tech enthusiasts. शायद आप, मैं, या anyone else in this workshop may not be someone who wants to fund a project on these websites. However, all the people on these platforms are tech enthusiasts. They're very loyal. They are all those individuals who want to have the product before it reaches a market. तो वो एक तरह की काफी आपकी एक लॉयल कस्टमर बेस भी बन जाती है. And naturally, it is free of cost. There is absolutely no charge on placing your website on those portals. There are other fees that you're eligible to pay, but that is only subject to the amount that you have raised. They're different percentage. So if you end up raising $10,000, उसका 5% आपको eventually platform को देना पड़ेगा, which will be $500. However, if you raise $100, so उसका 5% $5 बनेगा. So the upfront cost of putting your website is absolutely zero. Who is crowdfunding for? Is it even relevant to everyone? So we've kind of broken it down into 4 different phases. Those who want to learn more about crowdfunding, entrepreneurs with a business idea, early stage ventures, as well as established businesses looking to launch a new product or service. जो fourth part है, ये उन businesses के लिए है that are already in the market, and they could use a crowdfunding platform, a crowdfunding campaign to increase their user base, because the campaigns we're going to discuss in detail are all those campaigns that are accessible in over 120 countries. So you're not only trying to raise that funding amount, but आप अपनी customer base भी बढ़ा सकते हो. And then as time progresses, you can run multiple campaigns. आज एक product launch किया, a year later you have another product. So you can time and time again, you can go run a campaign and build a loyal customer base, regardless of whether you have a finished product or not. Acha. So throughout this particular workshop, these are all the main topics that you will learn. None of these topics, we'll discuss a few in this particular class today, but over the course of the next 5 to 6 weeks, we'll learn about a very important part on how to research. So आपने अगर अपनी crowdfunding campaign run करनी है, what is the amount of research that you need to put into it, right? So we'll dive deep into that soon. Then the algorithm. As you know, we're talking about websites, we're talking about platforms. They run by a specific algorithm, just like Facebook ads का एक particular algorithm है, just like YouTube or Google has a specific algorithm. The Kickstarter and Indiegogo, the 2 main platforms that we're going to be discussing, उनका एक specific algorithm है that can help you get organic traffic in due time. In due time. So thank you, Faizan Saab. And then, so आपका research का phase आया, then you understand what the algorithm is about, and then you're diving into the campaign itself. जो आपका एक 30 या 60 days की campaign होगी, वो आपने कैसे run करनी है, and then in parallel, how do you utilize the analytics that not only do these platforms provide you, but a lot of third parties that we will tell you about कि कौन सी third party tools आप use कर सकते हैं to help yourself in terms of to get the best return on investment in terms of your effort. फिर traffic आपकी कहाँ से आ रही है, किस तरह आ रही है, and again traffic is also something that will be run in parallel to the campaign, because those 30 to 45 or 60 days जितनी भी देर की आपकी campaign run होती है, उन दिनों में in parallel you're doing a lot of things, so it gets so tedious and confusing that you need a lot of help in terms of third party analytic tools and different platforms. And then lastly कि आपने post campaign क्या करना है and what those requirements are. So this is just a generic overview of what you will gain out of the next 5 to 6 weeks. Acha, so there are, if we take a step back in the lens के crowdfunding क्या है, क्या होती है, like the main definition that you need to be aware of is the fact that it's a pool of people putting together a pool of money for one cause, product, service, or whatever that may be. हमारा focus rewards based crowdfunding per hoga. That is a platform that we are going to be discussing, because that is the platform not only Preserve has raised successful funding for, but all the Pakistani companies we're aware of that has raised crowdfunding have all been through the rewards based mechanism. But just for your knowledge and information, I just tell you a bit about what the other three kinds of crowdfundings are as well. And naturally, you may fall under the category of potentially donation-based crowdfunding. So with time, you also need to analyze कि आपके लिए कौन सा platform is right for you. So the donation-based platform is run on ideas like any charity or any cause that you may want to raise money for. So this model revolves around the donating party giving money or other resources to the startup simply because they want to support the cause. This model does not have to give anything in return. तो इस डोनेशन के रिटर्न में आपको एज ए स्टार्टअप फाउंडर कुछ वापस देना जरूरी नहीं है. As we will discuss in reward based जो हमारा मेन फोकस रहेगा इस वर्कशॉप में, donation based में you're just collecting charity and you're not really expected to give anything back to the backer. And normally this is considered as non-profit charity, and there's a feel good factor जो normally आपको charity देते वक्त आता है. So this is very specific to a social cause. Our main focus, like I said, will be on rewards based. Rewards based is this particular model involves the donating party receiving varying levels of rewards. Once again, we'll discuss this. इसका मतलब ये है कि different donation amounts आप accept करते हो investor से, और आपको उस donation amount के against कोई ना कोई reward देना पड़ता है to the backer. Normally, reward-based backers are tech enthusiasts. They want to kind of show off this new tech जो market में पहले नहीं आई, लेकिन एक startup पाकिस्तान में शायद बैठा हुआ बना रहा है, and they want to get that product beforehand. उसमें उनका एक और भी फायदा है कि उनको अक्सर product काफी सस्ता मिल रहा है. So normally you try to incentivize selling your product on this platform by trying to tell the backer कि आपको जी ये 50% off पे मिल रहा है या 40% off पे मिल रहा है. So you're trying to tell them कि if this will be retailed at $200, आपको हम ये $80 में दे रहे हैं अगर आप pre-buy कर लोगे हमारे लिए. So that is the main purpose of that. The third one is debt-based crowdfunding. This model involves the startup looking to gain investment, borrow money from multiple people. In return, the lending party receives the startup's commitment to repay the amount at set time intervals and at a set interest rate. So this is just in a way like a conventional bank loan. Okay, a crowd of people are giving you money and you have promised to pay back the money in different installments with a specific kind of interest rate. And lastly, it's the equity model. And as the name suggests itself, a pool of people invest in you, and in return, they are getting equity. So in all four cases, the common theme is that the crowd is coming together to give you money. Okay? And in return, the startup is expected to potentially give something back. In equity-based funding, आप equity दे रहे हो. In debt, you're primarily incentivizing the investor to get some interest. Rewards-based में, and we'll be discussing this at length, you're giving them different rewards that includes the product you're raising funds for. And then in the donation-based, you're actually kind of just giving them that feel-good factor कि आपने कोई charity दी and you've kind of given some kind of money behind that. So this is the general flow of what crowdfundings are. For anyone, if you have any questions, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Zoom. You can just raise your hand, and I'm tracking that so I can answer that question and provide clarity at that point. Okay, so coming back to the deck, our main focus is on the two main rewards-based websites called Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And we'll later get into both of these. मैं आप लोगों को दिखाऊंगा how to navigate them and how to access these particular websites, and how to kind of go about that particular journey. But this is where our focus will be on. I hope I've done a half decent job at giving you a holistic impression of what crowdfunding is, the different types of crowdfundings, and the one we will be focusing on. So Kickstarter की जो पहली campaign थी 2010 में launch हुई, and as you can see the numbers are massive. They initially raised $942,000, but eventually they were able to raise 10 million, and आप 13,000 backers से देखो उन्होंने 68,000 backers ले लिए थे. However, the reason why I've included this is that this was happening 10 years ago in the US, and in 2020 we're sitting here in Pakistan, and a lot of people are not aware of crowdfunding. So not only are you taking part in this workshop, but you're also kind of where we and me personally are kind of obliging you to build some awareness within your respective groups on crowdfunding and the benefits of crowdfunding. Okay, these are exactly screenshots taken from the respective websites themselves. Now, this is the reason why I have done this is to try getting you to identify your respective industry कि आप किस में fall in करते हैं. Many of you do not have a startup, which is fine. Many of you have worked on them, are currently working on them. It may or may not fit your respective startup and your respective vision as we speak. However, with time, if you decide to go down this route, you may or may not have to pivot according to the requirements of your specific genre, your specific category that you potentially fall under. Just like you would have done with any venture capital firm. अगर आपने उनको एक अपना deck भेजा है कि जी, I'm looking for investment, they come back to you and they're like, nahi Hamza, our vision with your idea is to go down this route. So aap us investment raise karne ke liye, there will be some kind of pivot or iteration you may have to make. So I'm repeating this. You may have to kind of make some changes to fit into one category or the other. So Kickstarter ke jo main headings hain: arts, comics, design and tech, film, food and craft, games, music publishing. To everyone's surprise, art, film, games, book editors. This is a big theme in crowdfunding. People just kind of showcase कि उन्होंने किस चीज पे मूवी बनानी है, म्यूजिक उनका किस तरह का है, और फिर क्राउड फंडिंग वो रेस करते हैं पूरी एल्बम बनाने के लिए. सिमिलरली पाकिस्तानी एनिमेशन स्टूडियो, हमारे ब्रोशर में भी ये मेंशन था, Mano Animation Studios raised a significant amount of money just by showing the world potentially 45 seconds of or more of what they're capable of, and then they took money from the crowd to actually make the entire animation. So ये बाहर ही सिर्फ common नहीं है, but the very few companies that have raised crowdfunding from Pakistan, उसमें animation भी है. Indiegogo के ये आगे features हैं that you can see, and somewhat or the other the genres are primarily the same. They've just been rephrased and divided in separate sections, and I'm sure we'll be able to identify your respective genre as we progress. Okay, now any questions, please ask me. Otherwise, I will get straight into how to navigate Kickstarter and how you can kind of familiarize yourself with the website itself. Okay, there are no questions. I'm assuming I'm doing a decent job
We get what you're saying.
You
Yeah,
are
chale,
Hamza.
thank you. Chale, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at Kickstarter. मैं आपको यहाँ बताता चलूँ that Kickstarter is much bigger than Indiegogo. They have a lot of more users than Indiegogo does. लेकिन हमारी personal जो campaign थी Preserve की was run on Indiegogo. There were multiple reasons for that. Opening and linking your bank accounts is slightly tough on Kickstarter, but there are multiple ways around it. But in either or scenario, your level of effort and the level of traction you can get is primarily going to be the same. So, this is a decision you don't have to make up until the very last month when you are completely ready with your campaign. क्योंकि आपका effort दोनों campaigns, दोनों websites पे डालने का वही होगा. So, you don't need to worry about that. This is a decision you can make at the very end. For me personally, I prepared our campaign according to Kickstarter, and like mere dimag mein Kickstarter tha because if I take you back memory lane, the idea that I got inspired by wo Kickstarter pe launch hua tha. But main baad mein Indiegogo pick, I switched very quickly because Indiegogo's backend team really helped us out personally, and I think that was their way of luring me in and potentially a lot of other individuals who are siding towards Kickstarter. तो ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं होता आपकी effort में and the requirements of that. So this is the Kickstarter's homepage. You kind of just navigate के इनके homepage पर क्या हो रहा है. You see fresh favorites की एक tab आ रहा है. ठीक है जी, fair enough. And then you keep going down. You keep, it's probably the social cause. But taking off, as the name suggests, these are new projects, right? And you go down, then home stretch would be the projects that are kind of just ending. एक दिन रह गया है या कुछ घंटे रह गए हैं. So this is potentially what the homepage looks like for you. And when I talk about, मैंने बीच में एक point आपको mention किया था कि हम इनके algorithms में भी घुसेंगे. We'll try to understand कि हम इन particular website से organic कैसे gain कर सकें traffic. So we'll get deeper into that with time. But the important thing is that you kind of understand the layout of the basic page because you want to be on the home page when, inshallah, you plan on running your respective campaigns. So let's say we are going into, let's say, design and tech में हम जाते हैं. मेरा product अगर Preserve था, it was a portable battery pack. Similarly, you can do this exercise for yourself. So you go deeper into design and tech. आप फिर specifically design और tech में भी आगे search कर सकते हो कि आपने किस particular field में करना है. So let's say I explore technology की field में हम जी चले जाते हैं. Okay, now this particular show me part is where I want to kind of just explain how Kickstarter works. So show me, अब इधर आपके पास पूरी categories आ गई हैं. You will choose whichever category you either fall in or you would be interested to fall in. You choose that particular category. You then go on projects. अच्छा जी, अब मैंने projects को कहाँ choose करना है? पाकिस्तान में ये तो obviously सारी local locations दिखा रहा है, but if I type United States, any other country, तो ये आपको similar दिखा देगा. But naturally, when you're starting from zero, you want this option to remain Earth. By Earth, they mean all the projects on Kickstarter that are in technology. So अपनी research छोटी नहीं करनी है. आप जितनी magnanimous अपनी research को रख सकते हो, that will obviously help your cause. And then, we need to narrow down and hone in on which campaign we will use as that ultimate example of how I would want that campaign to be. And then it says sorted by popularity, newest, end date, most funded, most backed, near me. So magic, according to their terminology, is, there's no particular reason कि वो किस reason से match करता है, but then you can put in any other filter. So let's say हम most funded पे चले जाते हैं. Okay, now this particular project, which is a SnapMaker 2.0, is a 3D printer. By the way, there are dozens of 3D printers for some reason that one of the categories that's extremely populated is 3D printers. Anyway, if you now look at the filters, show me technology projects on Earth sorted by most funded. So this is one project I'm assuming is probably the most funded in this particular category. They have raised $7 million. So अब हम एक campaign के page पे आ गए हैं. All of your campaign pages will look like this. You will have a little image, and we'll get very, very deep into every like a particular campaign. But right now, obviously, for the sake of time, एक overview मैं दे रहा हूँ. This is what your campaign will look like. There'll be your main name, then there'll be your, short blurb, एक main picture होगी, फिर आपकी campaign होगी, campaign की video है. Just to tell you, they wanted to raise $100,000, but they ended up raising almost $8 million. And then आप नीचे जाओगे तो उसका पूरा campaign story है. There's a lot of text that you have to add to convince the backer. And don't worry, but we'll get deeper into it. And then you look at the right side. Right side का tab ही बिल्कुल फर्क है. These are pledges. These are different reward tiers that you will have for your backers. तो आपका एक reward tier हो सकता है $1, दूसरा reward tier हो सकता है $10, $25, $50, $100. And we've done some research, so we'll tell you about the common reward tiers that there are. But this is normally what a Kickstarter campaign looks like. Similarly, हम Indiegogo पर जाएं. This is what Indiegogo's page looks like. Now अब थोड़ा layout में फर्क है, as you can imagine. There is a bit of a difference in the home page, as you can imagine. However, okay, sorry, I clicked that. Just a second. End में काफी हद तक the home pages of both the websites are pretty similar. अब आप देख रहे हैं popular projects का नाम आ रहा है. These are all the projects that are doing really well, and eventually you want to be one of these projects. फिर आप नीचे जाएंगे, back the project, from the journal. So these are all the projects that Indiegogo की team ने push कर रहे हैं आगे. So we'll get deeper into why you want to be in any one of these, और ताकि आपकी organic reach बढ़े. So you go and explore, and once again, we can pick a category. Let's say, again, let's say phone accessories में चले जाते हैं. फोन एक्सेसरीज में चले गए. अच्छा, अब फोन एक्सेसरीज में भी सॉर्ट बाय मोस्ट फंडेड कर सकते हैं या ट्रेंडेड कर सकते हैं. लेट्स से मोस्ट फंडेड. सो Ubuntu Edge is still ongoing, but let's go to one that has been funded. The world's smallest ultrabook को हम चेकआउट कर लेते हैं. And if you now look at this page, it's very similar to the Indiegogo page that we saw, right? Eventually, requirements, like I mentioned earlier, are exactly the same for both campaigns. You go down, आपका पूरा एक story page है. You have an entire story page, and this is too much to cover. Obviously, in this class, इसके लिए तो एक और पूरा एक session dedicated है. But this is what the flow of both these websites are like. Coming back to our deck, we've navigated Kickstarter, थोड़ा बहुत Indiegogo को भी navigate किया है. अच्छा, so there are some deliverables that we want you to kind of do. As you know, just for platonic reasons, ही आप कहें, but you are eligible for a certificate at the end of this workshop. And we don't just want this to be our instructors talking and you're just absorbing information. We kind of want to push you to work on a couple of things. Now, this presentation I'm talking about, इसका कोई format नहीं है, कोई specific. ये 1 minute की भी हो सकती है, ये 3-4 minute की भी हो सकती है. Hopefully not longer than that. for the sake of time. And you can present this in any week post the third week onwards. So as you may know, this is the week of the 19th of October. Hamari 1 2 3. We end our workshop in the 16th November wala week. So you can tell me personally when would you like to present your respective campaign. So you can choose any campaign on any website with any genre, any industry, and just talk us through why you like that particular presentation to begin with. आपको वो product अच्छा लगा, उसके reward tiers अच्छे थे. So just keep this in mind. You will be in a better position to find out which campaign interests you in some weeks. But this is something I'm looking at कि आप 4th 5th या आखिरी हफ्ते में हमें ये छोटी सी एक presentation दे पाएंगे, right? So I just want you to keep this in mind. This is a requirement. I will push you to do this just for the sake of your involvement and for the sake of letting everyone else know कि आपको कौन सी उस तरह से campaign kind of attracted you more. So if there are again any questions around this, would be happy to answer them. And I'm reachable at any point. Some of you have already been in touch with me. I do prefer email as the best source of communication. I'm extremely responsive. आजकल smartphone सबके पास हैं, so there's practically no reason to not be responsive even on email. So this is my preferred choice of medium. And this is as far as this week's lesson is concerned. हमारा अगले हफ्ते का जो अगले हफ्ते की जो हमारी क्लास है, it's at the same time, and that will be hosted by a woman named Amy Wick. Amy is from Norway. She is of Pakistani origin. Amy is currently doing her PhD in crowdfunding in emerging economies. So Amy will just give us a bit of a history and what kind of products do well. A business model fit type ki presentation hogi. I will obviously be here, but that session will primarily be run by her. So if there are any questions beforehand that you may have for her, you can shoot me an email, and I would be happy to make sure that she addresses them or I address them in the following weeks. But if there are any questions as far as this class is concerned or the future classes are concerned, happy to answer them right now. Otherwise, inshallah, I will see you next week.
Hamza, can you please give more detail about that reward tier? I'm not able to understand that concept.
बिल्कुल आमिर साहब, we will go very deep into that, but उसमें होता ये है कि for instance I have made a new unique pen, right? अब मेरी campaign सारी pen के around revolve करती है. अब इसका रिटेल वैल्यू है $10 जब ये मार्केट में आएगी, लेकिन मैं क्राउड फंडिंग पे इसको $6 का बेच रहा हूँ. सही है. रिवॉर्ड टेयर आपने कई रिवॉर्ड टेयर्स रखने हैं. आपने $1 का रिवॉर्ड टेयर भी रखना है, आपने $3 का रिवॉर्ड टेयर भी रखना है, और आपने $6 का रिवॉर्ड टेयर भी रखना है, बिकॉज नॉट एवरीवन विल बी विलिंग टू पे अ बिग अमाउंट. नाउ इफ आई टेक दिस एग्जांपल टू अ मोबाइल, लेट्स से अ पावर बैंक. इन आवर केस हमारा पावर बैंक हमने उसको क्राउड फंडिंग पे $70 का बेचा. So it was 70 priced at $70. But I cannot expect all my backers कि वो या तो $70 पूरे दें या कुछ भी ना दें. तो उन लोगों के लिए आपको छोटे छोटे रिवॉर्ड टेयर सेट करने पड़ते हैं. And in return, if someone is giving me let's say $10, उनको शायद मैं प्रिजर्व की कमीज भेज दूं अगर वो $1 मुझे दे रहे हैं. So the most common reward tiers are $1, $5, $25. ये बहुत common reward tiers, and you don't want to miss out on those small amounts as well, because जिस तरह कहते हैं ना, कतरे कतरे से दरिया बनता है. You want everyone who even wants to donate $1 to you to give you that money for your campaign. So that is what I mean by reward tiers. I hope that answers your question. G. Mohammed.
All right. So you told us that you wanted to do crowdfunding, in any way, in any shape, in any form. Did you guys make Preserve to experiment on crowdfunding, or was Preserve an already developed idea?
So preserve, and I hope, I know we're going past the workshop time, but kabhi kabhi time upar niche ho jayega, so I hope you kind of have some leverage with that. Mohammed, thanks for that question. Mohammed, basically, while my subconsciously I wanted to do crowdfunding, I realized that crowdfunding, Mohammed, Farhad, I will just, Mohammed, I'll just ask your question. A question aaya hai. And Farhad, this should address your question. This is what will be covered in the next classes, and the schedule next week is shared hua hai, and I'll share the following week's schedule with you, sir. Mohammed, subconsciously crowdfunding was the idea. However, once we got into the journey of actually making a hardware product, we realized that we also need to raise angel investment. And the idea was always to make a unique, different, interesting product. And because crowdfunding is actually a place where you just can't go with an ordinary product. It needs to have some kind of invention or innovation to it. So whereas subconsciously आपके दिमाग में, हमारे दिमाग में बिल्कुल था कि हमने crowdfunding करनी है, but that video that you saw took us 4 years to make. Believe it or not, we had a working prototype in that video, and Pakistan is not known to innovate hardware products. So we went through a journey of 3 to 4 years where I personally started off with no electrical engineering background. I started with my first MVP from Hall Road, and we had a very long product development phase. So the idea subconsciously to qualify for a good crowdfunding campaign has to be a very, very well thought out product. So, that I hope that kind of answers your question.
Makes sense.
Thank you. Anyone else with any questions, Ji? Farhad, I hope I've answered your question, Ji. This is what we will be covering in the next sessions. We'll cover all these topics. Ji, Farhad, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, बिल्कुल मैं
Okay.
समझ गया इसके पर next time
चलें, thank you. वो थोड़ी पीछे disturbance आई थी इसलिए. आमिर साहब, do you have any questions?
हमजा, या हमजा 1-to-1 सेशंस हैं जो हमारे,
बिल्कुल जी.
उसको किस तरह प्रेफरेबली शेड्यूल करना चाह रहे हैं हम? It would be once a week या उसका क्या सीन है?
Boss, that will start in the 3rd week, and I will give you any time preference जो आपको सूट करता है उसके लिए. I will share a link with you जिसमें आप अपना time slot भर सकते हैं, and that can be according to whatever time preference suits each one individually.
Okay, fine.
ठीक है, because we're operating in different time zones, so for me to kind of just find that one time for the workshop class itself was a little tough, but one-on-one sessions को हम आगे पीछे कर लेंगे, वो आप लोगों की मर्जी के मुताबिक कर लेंगे हम. Any other questions before we end today's session?
So I have one question. You talked about the campaign interest, like what interests us, which campaign was raised the most interest. So do we have to research and look at the campaigns available on these 2 websites only, or we could look for something else as well?
Sure, Asaira, if you're more into social enterprises, you can look at potentially any campaign on GoFundMe.com, for example. So I won't limit you to that. If you want to experiment and go above and beyond these 2 platforms that we've discussed, you're more than welcome to do that.
Great, thank you for that.
Thank you for the questions. Anyone else? Okay, Ji, thank you so much. If there's any feedback, any questions, any particular thing that you want to, just bring to my attention. As you know, this is the first time we're doing these workshops. Any feedback, positive or good, would be highly appreciated. And thank you all for joining us. And inshallah, as you know, I'm available on email. Koi sawal jawab hai, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Otherwise, we will meet next Friday at 1:55 p.m. Thank you so much, and take care, and Khuda Hafiz. Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Azhar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ji. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Ji. You too, Ji. Khuda Hafiz.
you.